is a literal rock and roll badass. He worked with icons such as Alice Cooper, Adam Lambert, Kelly Clarkson, Triumph, and is a current member of his own group called Phil X and the Drills and the legendary group Bon Jovi. It's the incredibly gifted Mr. Phil X. Phil, thank you so much for joining. This is unbelievable. This is awesome.
Dude, I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So Phil, it's truly an honor to have a musician like yourself here today. So to start, take me through the beginnings of your music career. Was playing guitar something you always wanted to do?
Playing guitar was something my dad wanted me to do. I think it worked out though. Um, I grew up in a Greek household, so Greek music was playing a lot, and my dad played a Greek instrument called the bouzouki. So I just think he wanted someone to accompany him when he was playing for people. So he's like, "Hey, you should play guitar." He tried to get my sister to play accordion. She might have learned three songs and gave it up. But once I held a guitar, I had a feeling that that was it for me. And I was probably like 6 or 7. And by the time I was 8, I had an Elvis Presley set. And so we'd be at a big fat Greek wedding, and there'd be like 400 people there. And this is way before YouTube too. You can't just 8-year-old singing Elvis songs at a wedding. You couldn't do that back then. So, and it's funny because I had I did Teddy Bear and Blue Suede Shoes, and I literally thought at my first performance, I thought I was bombing because everybody, but I found out later that everyone was in shock.
It's
So, I mean, because I think, oh my God, everybody hates me. They hate it. I thought I'm done. That's it. 2 songs, I finished. And then I got a standing ovation and people freaking out. And the feeling I got at that moment was the moment.
starting off, you're doing Elvis. It's so funny because again, I grew up on Elvis. I'm named after Elvis. Uh,
Wow.
so what a small world, huh?
It really is, like it kind of like something like that, I think goes through your entire life. Like, and then in the 2017 to 19 tours, I had this white Framus XG I was using, and it had a number 6 on it. And people were like, "What's the number 6?" And I'm like, "Elvis Presley's race car."
Yeah, exactly.
It
Yeah.
was either Spin Out or was it Spin Out with Anne Margaret? I forget.
I think Aunt Margaret was Viva Las Vegas. Yeah, Aunt Margaret was Viva. That was Viva Las Vegas. So I think Spin Out. I think you're right
Yeah, Spin Out.
with racing. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, that's on. It was, and it's people like, "Oh, wow, interesting." Like I didn't know you liked Elvis. I'm like, man, my dad loved Elvis, and that's just something that we connected over too. Because and anytime anything was on TV, and if it was an Elvis movie, we're all like glued to the TV. So it was one of those things, man.
Yeah. And so I'm going to jump a little bit to your time with Triumph. Take me through that period of your career.
It seems like 5 minutes. We recorded a record. I co-wrote some of the songs, and I feel like it was a weird time for them because they were trying to have another guitar player in the band after Rick Emmett, who had been there since the inception, and then me trying to fill the shoes of the guy who had been there. So it was a weird time. But I find when I go play with other bands, including Bon Jovi, I can't go full Phil X because it's a little uh, too too me, I guess. And so they were like, I'd do a solo, and Mike Levine would walk in and he'd go, "Yeah, that's really awesome, but it really doesn't sound like Triumph." I'm like, "Okay, I'll dial it back." And then and my time with jumping forward to my time with Bon Jovi, it's like there's me, and there's Richie Sambora, and there's a guy in the middle that shows up every night, and that's the guy that I am. It's one of those things. I have this thing where uh, if I go full Phil X, it's a little too much. But that's why I have the drills, because I can go full Phil X and Phil X and the drills.
And I'm going to get to both Bon Jovi and Phil and the Drills in just a little bit, but I can tell just by listening to you and your guys' group, the Drills music, compared to some of the stuff that comes out on Bon Jovi. the guitar solos that you have with the drills is unbelievable.
Oh, thanks, man. Thank you.
It's
Yeah, it's
unbelievable.
my time. Whether it's on stage or recording, I feel like I get to do exactly what I want. And being a songwriter is also getting to say what I want to say. And I've always had a really cool, tongue-in-cheek, interpretive approach to lyrics. So, and to me, I love that because when you listen to some artists, everything they write is literal. Like I mean to say this, and this is what it means. With me, I could say something, and it could be interpreted into so many different things. Like, and I love when this happens. Someone comes up and goes, "Hey, what did you mean by that lyric?" And I go, "I don't know. What did you think I meant by that lyric?" And then they tell me, and it's actually cooler than what I was meaning to say.
Interesting. Okay. So, and you have done a lot of studio work for many different artists. Like I said in the intro, Alice Cooper, a Michigan-born native like myself. Adam Lambert, 2009, Kelly Clarkson on two different albums in '04 and '09. Tell
Yeah.
me and everyone who's out there watching, take us through working with them. I mean, what are they like that sometimes we don't get to see in like recording sessions?
Well, it's funny. I didn't meet Adam, but and you're recording on rhythm tracks, and basically, you're done. Like, say for instance, Kelly Clarkson. She we would do all the tracks, and we would spend a day on guitars, and then it's done, and then she comes in and sings. You're not even there. You're done. You've gone home. But there was one day where she wanted to hear what we were doing, or she had to fix a vocal or something. So she came into the studio while we were tracking the next song, and she just walked into the kitchen like a normal person going, "Hey, y'all." And it's like, hey, it's you. What's happening? It's funny. Adam Lambert wasn't there. Alice Cooper wasn't there when I tracked on his record, and I played on like 9 songs on Brutal Planet in 2000. And I didn't meet him until 2000, I think 18 or 19. And I just walked up and I go, "Hey, I'm Phil X. I played all those crazy guitars on Brutal Planet." And he said, "Bob Marlette couldn't stop talking about you. He said you did the craziest things. I can't thank you enough." And so that was and he was my hero. Like when I was a kid, I listened to that greatest hits record on repeat for so many months at one time. And he just, meeting someone like that where they know who you are is way cooler than like, "Hey man, can you sign my chest?" It's way cooler than that.
I mean, I think everybody at one point or another, no matter what age they are, they listen to one particular Alice Cooper song when they get out of school. I think that's a pretty it's like a rite of passage when you get out of school and you just blast Alice Cooper when you graduate. I think it's
That
just
that was a great marketing move for sure.
I think you just blast school is out forever. School's out forever. That was definitely a song for me when I graduated from high school. I graduated from college, so I
Oh
kept
wow.
listening to that on loop, just like school's out forever. So, so now I'm going to dive into what people have been asking me for weeks now since they've known that you were coming on. Your
Okay.
role with Bon Jovi. You mentioned Bon Jovi a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
How did John get a hold of you in 2013 to fill in on tour, and what was going through your mind when you were asked to come play for them?
Okay. So the first time was actually 2011, and it's yeah. So so crazy. John Shanks had already written and produced with John and produced a bunch of Bon Jovi records. And we met at Henson Studios. He had a room there. I was recording on another project, and he saw me in Studio D, and he just walked right up to me and he said, "You're a funny mofo." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, I've started watching your videos last night and I couldn't stop. I went down the rabbit hole for about 5 hours because he collects guitars. So he was looking for a particular Les Paul, and a video of me came up. And then once he saw me, he just couldn't stop watching. And then he also said, "And it sounds like you can play and sing everything, and you're just a cool, funny guy. So nice to meet you." And then 2 weeks later, he got my number from a mutual friend, and he called me and he said, "Hey, I think I have a gig for you." And I said, "What is it?" And he said, "I can't tell you over the phone." can you come by my studio tomorrow? So I went by the studio and I walk in, what's the mission? And he goes, how do you feel about filling in for Richie Sambora and Bon Jovi? And I'm like, that's not possible. That's, there's, there's no way. Nobody could do that. And he goes, well, they need someone to. And I told him it was you. So here's a contract. Here's a statement of confidentiality. Don't even think about it. Just do it. And I was like, come on, nobody can do that. That doesn't seem like a realistic. Wait a minute, somebody, is this really happening? I thought I was being punked or something. Anyways, we went back and forth on the contract, and I was put on hold. And on April 14th, 2011, I got the call from John, and it was an unknown number from New York, so I didn't answer the phone. But when I checked the message, he goes, Phil X, John Bon Jovi calling. I'm calling. Here's my number. Call me back. And that's all he had to say. It was like code for "we need you." So when we got on the phone, he literally just said, "I'd like to fly you to New York to rehearse with the band for a couple of days, and then put you on hold for May." And I flew to New York. And when I got to the rehearsal room, he said, "Did you hear about Richie?" And I go, "No." He goes, "He's in rehab. Looks like you're doing May. Your first show is on Saturday in front of 50,000 people at Jazz Fest in New Orleans." So that was my prep.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I'm just making sure I got this right. You fly to New York, you meet with the band, you rehearse. John tells you that, okay, you have a few days to get ready. You're gonna be performing in front of 50,000 plus down in the Big Easy for your
Yeah.
first ever live performance. Wow. What was going, like, just through that period of time, were you thinking like, I'm like, is this, I don't know how I can do this? Like, what was going through your mind getting ready for your first live performance with them?
Well, it was even weird the first rehearsal because I don't think the guys know. I don't think I mean I think John knew. Wait a minute. I think John knew, but I don't think, like, somebody said, I think something's up with Richie. And he goes, don't worry, I got a guy. And I could hear somebody going, what do you mean you got a guy? Like, right? So I walk in after all my prep, uh, and they say, don't worry about lyrics because we'll have teleprompters on stage. But at rehearsal, there's no teleprompter. So I'm literally changing the sheet to Born to Be My Baby to Lost Highway. And we're running these songs. And I'm singing my parts and I'm playing my parts. And after like 5 songs, I hear Tico go, who the hell is this guy? It was kind of, because I think I was nailing it. I think I just, you can't walk into a situation like that and not be prepared. So, and then as far as walking on stage at Jazz Fest with the band like Bon Jovi, the last thing you can do is think that you're walking on stage in front of 50,000 people with Bon Jovi. So that just trips you up. So I don't even remember being nervous. I literally walked on stage thinking to myself, man, you've been playing and singing your whole life. It's just Bon Jovi songs. Go have some fun. And I went out there and that's what I did.
Wow. I could definitely tell if I'd be absolutely shaking. I don't even know if I did play the guitar, if I knew how to play the guitar, I couldn't even play anything. I'd be that nervous.
Well, it's funny too, because
50,000 people.
everything was there. You're going to plug into Richie's rig. I'm like, I don't have a 12 string. You're using Richie's 12 string. And Takumi was the tech at the time, and he made it so easy with tunings. And I had the pedal board. I brought my few pedals, and they had the talk box, and they cleaned the hose for me. I mean, it's pretty amazing how it just happened so effortlessly. And I feel like we were done, and they're like, go to the van. I'm like, what do you mean go to the van? Don't we go backstage? No, we go to the van. We're going to be on a plane in 20 minutes. It's like, because I didn't know that when you play in a large festival or in a van, I mean, in a stadium or something like that, if you don't jump into the van and leave right after the show, you'll be stuck there for 5 hours. It didn't even, that stuff doesn't occur to you when you're not in that situation. So, but I mean, the cool thing was that I did 13 shows and Richie came back. And then, and it was pretty amazing that, hey, Richie's coming back and we're giving you a bonus because you did such a great job. But this bonus is also on hold money. And I'm like, okay. So, but, I figured, okay, that was my stint. That was it. That was 2 years go by. I don't play a Bon Jovi song ever again until I get a call when I'm at Trader Joe's from John. And when it's John Bon Jovi calling you, even at Trader Joe's, you want to go, hey man, John Bon Jovi calling. Hey, Johnny, what's up, brother? Right? And he goes, hey, we need you in Calgary tonight. It's been 2 years, Aaron. We need you in Calgary tonight means what? What do you mean tonight? And at the same time, my wife was going through a terrible first trimester with our first biological son together. And so I got the call from John, and then I got a call from Scott Casey, who was the road manager at the time with all of the logistics. And then I call my wife and I go, hey, Bon Jovi called. And she said, oh, when are you leaving? And I'm like, there's going to be a car at the house in an hour. Like that. And she's like, oh, do you need me to do your laundry or go to the market for you? You need anything? And I was like, wow, man, you're like the coolest. So at the time, I was in the studio recording Scott Stapp's first solo record. And we were about halfway through. So all my guitars were at Howard Benson's studio. So I had to call Mark Van Gould, the guitar tech. I go, you need to grab this guitar, this guitar, this guitar, this guitar, this pedal, and meet me at the Van Nuys Signature Airport in 30 minutes. And he's like, done. So that's how it worked.